if you do have a website, the speed of the website and how quickly it transitions to different pages, can those things affect the SEO? Obviously, if somebody is having trouble on a page, they're probably going to leave quicker. So then you mentioned previously, like the bounce rate might be higher.
Yep.
Are those things going to affect the organic SEO of somebody as far as ranking?
Absolutely. That's where I kind of mentioned a minute ago. There's a lot of different things with regard to technical SEO that go into that. And I mean, that we could have multiple, Marketing Mondays just talking about SEO in detail. But a lot of things play into that, whether you have the pages set up properly with the proper optimization, if your website is set up in such a way that it responds quickly. Is it set up in such a way that when people arrive there, they navigate to numerous pages, or do people sometimes get to your website and leave from the same page they arrived at? Google tracks all of that stuff. If they're sending people to your website, let's say that they're listing you towards the top of organic results, but everybody that clicks on your result very often doesn't stay for longer than about 15 seconds, and then they bounce out. They leave from the same page they arrived at. That's all working its way into the equation to where Google's like saying to themselves, this must not be a good result for this search term, because people that go there don't seem to like what they find when they get there. So again, back to Google's number one mission, which is to serve up a list to their customers or the people that are searching with the best lists they can. If they're being given indicators that the people that are going to your website aren't liking what they find, i.e. they're not staying that long or they're leaving from the page they arrived, it's going to be an indication to Google that maybe they should drop your listing down, because people don't seem to like, or it doesn't seem to hit the mark for people that are searching for X when they go to your website. So all those things play into it. Ideally, you want somebody that stays at your website for a period of time, a longer period of time. They navigate to other pages from your homepage. So they navigate to several pages on your website while they're there. Then Google looks at it and they say, that must have been a good result that we served up to that person searching, because they definitely seem like they were engaged in the visit. They searched around, they stayed a while. So then Google actually then begins elevating those websites that have that those things happen, because they think that must be a good result for this particular search term or key phrase, because people seem to be responding to it. So everything that happens on your website, Google is tracking, and it plays into SEO. Now, part of Google's mystery, if you will, of the algorithm is they don't tell us exactly all the things that play into the algorithm and by what percentages, but all of those things work into the algorithm to determine where you're going to show up on this list.
Okay, that makes sense, because user experience was one of the things the AI kicked back to me. One of the ones that it probably goes along with it was the content quality and the relevance. So I think, like you mentioned, at least when I was thinking and asking the question, wasn't sure if Google was kind of scanning the page for speeds, or as I'm going to mention here, like scanning the images for like a higher clear quality images, if that's something that might ding the SEO results. But I think it's more what you were just speaking on, as far as it keeps the customer there. If somebody has bad images and just
bad content,
poor video quality or whatever it might be that's on there, they're probably going to leave. And thus that statistic is kind of gathered by Google. And then like, okay, so it might not, you might have a popular web page that has low quality images or videos, but if people are staying there, then I think Google is probably still going to send them there. I just wasn't sure if the algorithm itself was kind of reading what was going on within the site.
I think to answer your question, that Google does, but user experience, in my opinion, and by that I mean, are people engaged? Are they staying on your website for a while? Are they visiting multiple pages? Things like that. Although, again, Google doesn't give us the roadmap to what all those things are. My suspicion is that is the most important thing to Google. Because again, if you think back to their number one priority is you're searching for something and we're producing a list of results, and our number one goal is to produce result. The thing that keeps Google relevant is that when people search on Google, they produce results that make sense to the search. If that starts not happening, or if they start elevating results that are garbage quality, all of a sudden Google's relevance the shine of Google starts to wear off. So Google's number one priority is to make sure people continue to use it. And the way that they continue to make sure people use it is by, when people search, producing good results for them. So I think user experience or user indicators that show that there's a good user experience are some of the most important things that are going to help your SEO. Does Google scan your website to determine if your image isn't high quality? I don't know. In today's day and age of AI, they may start doing that. But ultimately, if you had a website that the images weren't awesome, but people were engaged and they were visiting pages, versus a website that the pictures were all dynamite, but people were bouncing out of it in a very short manner, I think the site that has the images that aren't quite as nice is going to perform better in search results, because that's more important to Google than the fact that you have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think it does. It was more of just a question as we're going through these. I'm definitely, I feel like I'm experienced with a lot of this stuff, but there's plenty of questions, just like the ones that are bouncing in my head right now, as far as you had mentioned, and this might be diving in.
One other thing I'll say too, we talked about content. Google does not like content that they consider thin content. A lot of people sometimes want to create a lot of content on their website, different pages, different blogs, and they don't put a lot of content in there. The problem is when Google let's say Google serves that result up to somebody, and when somebody gets there, it's 3 sentences with no picture or anything like that. That's not going to be a good experience for the person that Google sends there. So when you're thinking about adding a page or adding a blog or whatever, be thinking to yourself, minimum, you should have 300 words, a bare minimum, and ideally more than that, but a bare minimum 300 words. Otherwise, you would have what Google would consider thin content, which means there's not a lot of content there. So you're going to have a hard time getting those pages to register and for Google to populate them high in the search results, because Google is going to feel like if we send somebody there, there's not that much meat on the bone, if you will, on that page. So be considering things like that too. Don't just try to put content out there like, I'm going to set up a page that says window tinting in XYZ city and put 2 sentences and I got a page out there, and think that that's going to work. I mean, that's actually a decent strategy, and we use that with some of our clients, but there's got to be some meat once you get there. There's got to be content. You just can't create thin content and expect that that's going to work for you.